It was a quick way of making money.
There was a stage where I was, again, sneaking out.
And I'm going, what the hell are we doing here?
As sad as that sounds.
Someone's getting naked in the background over there, which is...
She's like, is that James again? I'm like, no, put on a different voice.
Welcome to the UK series. Hello everyone and welcome to part of our UK series. My name is Mario Dodić. I'm the founder of HVAC Education Hub, where we talk about heat pumps and heat pump trainer. Today we are at Installer Show at KICKSTART with two guys. One of them is James Law, Head of System Design at British Gas, and Louis Litherland, Training Manager at HeatGeek. They put a lot of effort to write a book which is Heat Pumps Unlocked, and we'll talk a little bit about the book and our industry in general. Hello guys, happy to be here. And for start, what was the main idea behind writing a book, behind your willingness to put this all in the book?
It was a quick way of making money. No, I'm joking. No, it was a journey that I'd been on with my own sort of training with heat pumps. I started training from Freedom Heat Pumps back in 2020, I believe, and I was bringing like new installers in who were traditional gas engineers, wanting to learn a little bit more about heat pumps, and sort of put together a training package. And then I realised that it was not very good when HeatGeek launched, and HeatGeek came on the scene, the Awakening course. Lewis and I were part of the sort of first group of maybe, I don't know, 50 guys that had signed up to do the pilot of HeatGeek training. So I took one look at it and saw like the complexity around the equations and trying to do pipe sizing, and it wasn't like 15 mil, 22 mil, 20 mil. It was 7 decimal places of a cross-sectional area of a piece of pipe, and I'm going, what the hell are we doing here? Like this is something completely different. So we sort of worked as a group of 6 guys at Freedom Heat Pumps, and we did it together over a period of a few weeks, and we were all scratching our heads like multiple times. And one of the guys, fortunately, I worked with a guy called Graham Hendra, who completed the whole course in just over 2 hours and made us all look like an absolute bunch of idiots, but that's kind of who Graham is. He's like an incredibly intelligent guy. So I was fortunate enough to learn from the likes of Graham and Chris Higgs at Freedom. Once I moved on from there, I kind of stopped being involved in the training world at all and worked for Valent as a system design engineer. And I was forever on the phone speaking with installers all day, every day, and sort of trying to help them with pipe sizing. And you understand the frustration they were getting when this wasn't just coming naturally. And I was getting to a point where I thought, like, how good would it be if there was a book out there that simplified it and simplified what HeatGeek were trying to do and what other training providers were trying to do, but in like a reference book. And I kind of never had anything in mind with what was done. And this was kind of born from just a couple of ideas on scraps of paper, a phone call into Lewis, and I sort of threw a load of ideas at Lewis and bombarded him with voice notes. And I'm sure his missus is sick of the sight of me at this point. And he sort of created this amazing booklet, which just like the way in which he would explain complex, really overly complex things that most guys will struggle with. Because of his background with teaching, and I'm not stealing his thunder here, I'll tell you all about this, but because of his background in teaching and education and apprentices, and he'd already had experience of writing a book as well. Someone's getting naked in the background over there, which is off-putting. I'm going to face this way. Yeah, it kind of just lent itself, and we really bounced ideas off each other, and we sat in my kitchen at the bar, just sort of talking about ideas and thinking, actually, how can we make this sort of even more commercially available? And there's no better power than social media. So we thought, well, let's speak to all these people across the industry who've all got really something to bring to the table to help standardise the industry. And we sort of reached out to all these people and explained what we wanted to do with the book. And they was like, yeah, this is, we want to be part of this. We were almost turning people away at the end because we was like, we've got too much content now. And I mean, I guess we probably ended up deleting like 400 pages. The book could have been an encyclopedia, but it's ended up just being like the core essentials of what we believed a man in a van heating installer, an everyday plumber. He might be fantastic at installing bathrooms, fantastic at installing boilers, wants to get into heat pumps but doesn't know where to start. And we thought, this is like step 1 of your journey now. So Lewis has nailed the apprentice level stuff with his first book, which is fantastic. I think everyone should buy a copy of it. Amazon. And then the next sort of natural step in your training then would be heat pumps unlocked. And then as you get through the back of the book, there's sort of more options as to what else is available. So Kimbo's training, Heat Geek training, the community that's been formed with Heat Geek, and the wider community that you've become a part of now over social media. This has been like the biggest plus for me, is seeing the engagement and the sort of everyone sharing the knowledge. And like 5 years ago, what I thought I knew about heat pumps is maybe 1% of what I know now. And I've been on that journey, and I wouldn't have been able to achieve any of that without learning from all of these different educators that are open to sharing ideas and innovation that's happening. So yeah, I'm just sort of chuffed to be in an industry where I've made friends for life, like Lewis and yourself.
Thanks, James. Lewis, this is your second book, so you're now multiple book author, and you have a lot of experience with teaching, and you wrote really good articles before Installer Show about what we are missing in teaching. We are all, let's say, I also entered this business like from educational perspective, but this is whole science of learning and teaching what we don't know in reality. We know these technical things, but we need to learn how to learn. This is what I like to say. How you think, how you see yourself in all of these years? What is your driver for teaching, for writing a book, and to be part of all of this?
Thanks, Mario. Yeah, I think my main driver is sort of what happened to me as an apprentice, where I was trained as a gas installer, and I didn't know what I didn't know, and I feel like once Heat Geek came along and I realised that I wasn't as good as maybe what I thought I was, it was sort of put me back a little bit and think about all the things that maybe I'd missed out on in my career, of all the opportunities that I could have had if I had been taught in the first place. I think maybe coming from the working class background, maybe that hits a little bit harder as well. Is like, quite a lot of installers come from that same background, and if we're not teaching them correctly in the first place, they're already at a disadvantage before anything else. So I think that's what drives my passion more than anything. So again, and obviously teaching on the apprenticeship, I realised that the standard wasn't what I thought it should be. And that's not just for the heat pump installation side, that's also the gas industry as well. I feel like, at the moment we're sort of treating them as two different industries, but we need to teach gas installers how to install low temperature systems. Once they can do that, once they understand weather compensation, once they can size radiators based off flow temperature, that jump from heat pumps isn't a jump anymore, it's a step. I no longer put the boiler on the wall, I put it in the back garden now. And all them processes that they've learned all along should just come naturally once they start moving into heat pumps. So I say, like, my main driver is maybe myself in a selfish way of what held me back. And I'm just thankful that I've met James, yourself, and all these people that I keep saying it's maybe the golden age of heating at the moment, because everyone's sharing the knowledge, and I'm so glad that this has happened to me, and I just wanted that to happen to the next generation of installer. So yeah, I think that's my main driver. It's coming from myself in a way, just installer to installer. So yeah.
You mentioned this like a selfish way, but this is also really rewarding. If you can pass all of this knowledge, this is why I also started the channel, and this is what I also want to discuss. So you are writing books, you have years of experience, you know a lot of things maybe better than I know, but still I had the education with your team. You were on my education because you want to hear different perspective. Yeah. So even you know that, but okay, you are coming to me, I did a Heat Geek. So we are all sharing all of this circle because someone is good in books, someone is good in refrigerant part, someone is good in heating part. How you see that kind of a thing? Because it's also an honor for me. Okay, you are very well known, you have experience, but you still wanted to learn from me. How you can see that part of our business?
It sounds cliche, but every day is a school day. I don't think anyone in heat pumps should be proclaiming to know it all now. I think there's so much opportunity for self-development and taking ownership of your own learning. I think that's a massive thing for me, is something that I did when I was going back multiple years. I was listening to podcasts talking about the heating industry and heat pumps, and it sounds a bit nerdy, but I learned so much from that. And then, like we mentioned there, the Heat Geek training, Kimbo's training, that played a massive part in both of our careers. We both learned so much from doing the Kimbo course, and the HVAC Education Hub, the platform you created on YouTube when you were still at Panasonic at the time, if I'm allowed to mention them.
Yeah, it's fine. No.
Yeah,
it's fine.
like the videos were superb, and it was almost like there's so many resources out there that are untapped that people, we just need to look at what learnings we can take from each other, and we're all growing and developing. There's Nathan's podcast that's sort of been critical in my development and understanding and learning, listening to other people, and then going, oh right, that guy was really interesting to listen to. I'm going to go and find more about him now. And then just these resources, they're only growing as well, which is great. Initially there was one book, the OG of heat pump books was John Cantor. That was the only standalone book on heat pumps for over a decade, maybe even longer. And now all of a sudden, in the last 12 months, you've had Graham Hendra's released 4 books, Ian's released 2 books, Lewis and I have released a book together, Lewis has released, and all of a sudden, that education now, you're not limited to just one area, you're not really limited to a 3-day BPEC course, where it's death by PowerPoint, where it's a tutor with his clicker just going click, 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 to Lewis's point earlier. There's lots of opportunity now to sort of take ownership of your own learning, and ultimately what I would say is installers who have aspirations to get off the tools, we're living, breathing, like we're proof of that. We've both come from being engineers with bad knees, bad backs, carrying around toolboxes that we don't want to be doing anymore, and we thought, what, we've got more to offer here. We took a risk on ourselves to go, actually, I want to learn more, I want to understand more, and now there's more resource than there's ever been. So there's no better time to join this industry. Last year the nation, we had 100,000 heat pump installs. That's great. It's the tip of the iceberg. The aspiration is to get to 1 million heat pumps a year. So if you think about that growth, that tenfold growth that we need to go through to get anywhere close to decarbonisation, there's going to be so much opportunity now for these guys, young lads coming through who, they may be like I was, who've got a parent who works in the plumbing industry, and it's going to be, well, I'm going to be a plumber. Well, actually, you can aspire to more now, because this industry has got uncapped growth. So, now's the time to start picking up the books, jumping on the Heat Geek training platform, and sort of just start to educate yourself and see what's possible. And if you want to push yourself for something, then go and get it. Take an active interest and take ownership of your own learning.
Ownership of your own learning, this is what is important to hear, because we have now, you mentioned let's say 1 million in UK. Europe is massive. There is I think 300,000 engineers missing in the Europe. To scale all of this, we have different sources. Luis, what do you think? Let's say a lot of people, they like in-person training. I also like this, but you cannot scale everything. So you need to combine in-person training, online communities, let's say my channel, your book, Heat Geek platform, and so on. How you can see all of this? I can see it like all of these pieces are collecting with each other. So you need to take also in-person training in your local town, to read some book and to listen some podcast. How you can see this combination of online and in-person activities?
It's a very good point. I think that in the industry, in history, we've sort of just focused on the in-person training, and I think that's maybe a mistake, especially nowadays, where when you're in the classroom, you have to learn at the pace of everybody else. So if one person doesn't get it, typically we don't wait for that person, they just get left behind. So I think that's where the digital side of things comes in. It's in your own time, it's in your own pace, and you can always revisit certain aspects as well that you weren't quite sure of. So I think that's a huge part of it, but as you say, it's not just that as well. There's so many more parts of training, and I think the main one for me is installers showing what they're doing day to day. I think that's a massive learning tool that people don't realise, of the everyday installer putting a picture of a nice installation on Instagram or Facebook, something as simple as that. That could teach so many people, and that's what I'd encourage more installers to do. Don't be worried about putting the picture out and share that knowledge. So I think that's a big part of it as well. But as you say, it's just becoming interested. I think that's the main thing, is let's just get people interested in this, and maybe that goes back to the grassroots level of. Typically in the UK, if you were poor at school and you weren't too good at English and maths, you became a plumber. And we need to change that mindset. We need to target the academics as well, the people who like learning this, because there's a level and you can get to that level, and we shouldn't put people in boxes in any way. If they want to go to university and learn about physics and then become a heating installer, let's encourage that. Let's not say, oh no, you're too clever for that, you go and do something else, because the earning potential in the industry at the moment is huge, and so many opportunities that I think it's just becoming interested, I think, and getting that message out that this is a growing industry. And there's a lot of bad press in the industry about how we're doing things wrong, but if you look around about all the training materials that are coming out and all the good news stories, we're really on that trajectory now, and I think this is just the start of it. And I'm really positive about where we're going in future. And as I say, I think that interest is definitely growing in the industry. We just need to target that grassroots now of people who aren't even in college yet. You know, the 14, 13-year-olds. You know, let's start encouraging them to learn, like put the science into something that's physical. You know, learn about the physics, but then, you know, relate it to radiators. I know it's like, you know, and they can go home and start doing this at home, and, you know, just getting people interested. And it's hard because heating is, you know, typically boring. You know, it's pipes and radiators, but, you know, you can make things interesting. You just got to be a bit clever in how you do it, and rather than just the PowerPoint clicker. So yeah, that long-winded answer, but I think it's a whole immersive experience where you've just got to get people interested.
Thank you for this discussion. Just last question: how your family and better half survived all of these books, and you're famous guys now, so how they survived?
I'm not sure about the famous bit. It was lots of convincing her that it would be worthwhile in the long run. I don't think my missus was overly thrilled when I was waiting for her to fall asleep at 9 o'clock, so I could sneak into my office and sit there till silly o'clock in the morning with matchsticks, keeping my eyes open. And then I remember one specific occasion when we thought we'd like nailed the book and the content was great and all the rest of it, and then we got a little bit of feedback, and it was like, actually there's some changes need to be made here to make this a little bit more polished. And I was away at the time, and we had a really, really tight deadline because we'd sort of promised people it was going to be launched and all the rest of it. And Lewis, I think he did like 4 12-hour days back to back, basically rereading and rewriting tons of the content, because, you know, we had to make sure that what we put out there, we not only sort of represented ourselves well, but represented the industry well, because we knew a lot of people from outside our sphere were going to be sort of picking this up and learning from it. And, you know, it was silly things like grammar mistakes, but, you know, we're not, you know, we've never proclaimed to be the world's most intelligent writers. We're just, you know, two ex-plumbers that sort of gave it a go, and, you know, it's worked out, and I don't think I'll be doing another, but yeah, it was good fun to do. It was a unique experience, and at the end of it, it's nice that people have sort of taken an active interest in it. And at one point, someone referenced it as being the ice bucket challenge of LinkedIn heat pump books, and it was great because everyone was just posting it, and it was really nice. But it was really nice to sort of, this sounds really corny, but really nice to make a friend like Lewis who was sort of so accommodating with my bizarre requests for, let's include this in the book, and sending over silly videos of me with scribble. It was just nice to sort of have that friendship and that camaraderie and do something so unique together, because ultimately I never would have done it by myself. It never would have been something, I wouldn't have had the time or the knowledge on how to sort of convey really complex subjects into the way Lewis did. So yeah, for me, I'm very, very grateful that Lewis allowed me to be part of this journey.
What about you? You did 2 of them in short period, and also some private things. And how was that?
It was tough. It was definitely tough. There was a stage where I was again sneaking out, and if James rang me, I'd just start walking around the garden. So my girlfriend didn't pick up on that. But yeah, she's been really supportive, and I think not just from the money side of things, like from how it's making me feel. I think making a friend in James and all that kind of stuff. Like it's made me more interested in the industry, and I think she could see that as well, that I actually, I love doing this kind of stuff, as sad as that sounds. So yeah, she's been really supportive of it. But yeah, as I say, I was taking phone calls, hiding phone calls. She's like, "Is that James again?" I'm like, no, put on a different voice. So yeah, it got a bit strange, but no, as I say, it's been amazing to go through this journey with James, definitely.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate this. Thank you for discussion and for your insights and for the book. So you can buy the book at heatpumpsunlocked.com. I'll put a link below, and watch other videos from our UK series, and see you.